Hello and welcome to the Triple Loop Agile podcast. My name is Carl Rogers. Today we're going to be discussing game design, that's serious play and learning games, and game design then as a mirror for revealing the hidden forces in organizations. So I aim to help knowledge workers find joy and effectiveness in their careers. And the truth is, many work settings don't support their employees to thrive in their careers. We need to understand the complexities in our workplaces to change that. And this all starts with each person's readiness to change. This, in my view, is where game design becomes a game changer. Through this discussion then, I aim to argue that game design is not just an exercise in entertainment, but a critical tool for diagnosing and solving organizational challenges. Using examples like the Unwinnable Game and Agile Animalia, two games that I've been designing, I will demonstrate how these games act as mirrors then for revealing hidden but critical aspects of organizational behavior. Another way of thinking of this is that they act like microscopes, zooming in on what might otherwise be unnoticed. It's designed to show how working together effectively can lead to successful outcomes, embodying principles from Agile methodologies. These games create safe spaces, and in them, people can engage with challenges similar to those that they face every day. Moreover, these games can adapt or can be adapted to the specific realities of any given workplace. Take Agile Animalia, for instance. This is a large-scale cooperative game of multi-team agility that illustrates how collaborative change leads to successful outcomes. Up to 100 players are organized into teams, each with distinct responsibilities for how they contribute to the launch of a new zoo. During the game, teams must experiment to determine their right fit collaboration patterns. Then there's the Unwinnable Game, a game that I'm going to be playing in London on the 28th of November, which is a party-style game that throws you into a world of workplace ambiguity. Each player adopts a secret role, which is essentially their personal survival strategy at work. And then the game teaches the value of fostering a shared purpose in times of change to keep everyone aiming at the same targets. So what are the core themes here? Before diving into the complexities of our gaming examples, it's important to outline the themes that this article is going to address. So what are our core themes here? Before diving into the complexities of the gaming examples, it's important to outline the key themes that this podcast is looking to address. So these are, firstly, designing games for real challenges. So how can games like the Unwinnable Game help understand the modern workplace? And then unveiling hidden dynamics. What do games show us about unseen factors that affect work environments? And then diagnostic tools. So these are designing games for real challenges. So how can games like the Unwinnable Game help us understand the modern workplace? Unveiling hidden dynamics. What do games show us about unseen factors that affect work environments? And then diagnostic tools. How can these games help us spot and address hidden problems in organizations? We're going to explore these themes in depth. We'll cover game elements, player reactions, and more. And the aim of this then is to show how game design can expose hidden workplace challenges. So how do we go about designing realistic games? And I feel that building realism into learning games really does matter. So for example, a game that simulates a corporate environment might feature real-world challenges like budget constraints and tight deadlines to help players understand the complexities of project management. So this is about how well a game mimics real-world conditions. If you're using games to explore change in complex settings, then put coherence as a key element into that game. That's coherence with reality. The game must align well with the reality it seeks to replicate. And in my mind, there are three aspects that contribute to the game's realism. The visual elements. So think about high-quality graphics or realistic physical environments. We pretty much nailed this one in-person play, right? It can't get more high fidelity than a human talking to a human in person. This could be creating a sandbox, though, to play in, like a sandbox version of Jira, for example, or just using post-it notes to build a backlog on a whiteboard. Then there are the mechanical elements of this game's realism. So game rules that mirror real-world systems. So, for example, a Kanban simulation will model lean flow theory and Little's law by design. And then there's the narrative elements. So a strong storyline can help immerse players in the game. I've written an article about how shared narratives will help learners engage with games, and I'll put the link into this as well. You can adjust these factors, in my mind, like sliders. So it's not a black and white choice. So, for example, Lego for Scrum blends mechanical realism with a more abstract narrative. And in my mind, that works really well. So we talk about abstractions. So how do we go about choosing the abstractions in our game design? And I think this is a critical step to balance abstraction with realism. So again, this isn't a binary choice. You can think of realism in visual, mechanical, and narrative terms as sliders, and you can adjust backwards and forwards. As I was saying, Lego for Scrum combines mechanical realism with a level of narrative abstraction. Like we're teaching Scrum by doing Scrum, but the product is represented by Lego models instead of software. The coherence with the real-world applications here, in my mind, enhances the learning experience. And strategic abstraction can be just as crucial. For instance, in a Kanban game I once designed, the backlog items were entirely abstracted from the reality of the real world. They were just numerically labeled and tied to generic features, like backlog item 1 for feature 1. And then the focus shifted to the lean flow metrics like work in progress and throughput, that the game was really focusing, helping learners like understand both in terms of a measurement and generation perspective, but also how their decisions impacted based on the data they were seeing. So this abstraction allowed players to home in on key metrics and decision-making moments, like when to pull in new work, how and when to collaborate, and so on and so on. So if you're wondering when to abstract and when to aim for realism, consider your learning objectives and the game's learning objectives. Abstraction, in my mind, helps focuses the learning. So while realistic elements can help transfer skills and insights into real-world settings. So it's a question of balance, really. So let's talk about the power of realism then in skill transfer. And why does realism in games actually matter? In my mind, it directly impacts how easily you can transfer skills and insights to your daily tasks. So let's break this down. Let's think about decision making. Realistic scenarios fine-tune your ability to make choices that matter. Then there's mental models. I feel that games can sharpen the frameworks you use to understand and navigate work challenges. When I say frameworks, I'm talking about those mental frameworks, not the Agile frameworks, although that may apply anyway. And then shared experiences. And as humans, we're wired for stories. When we share game experiences, we're also building these shared narratives that strengthen teamwork and roles in the workplace. So balancing abstraction and realism isn't just about an academic exercise. In my mind, it has real-world consequences. It can be the difference between a game that's simply entertaining and a game, on the other hand, that offers transformative learning and skill development. So I have a case study, which is about modeling workplace strategies with both the games that I've designed that I mentioned, Agile Animalia and the Unwinnable Game. They utilize different forms of individual logic to depict how decisions are made in a real-world environment. So Agile Animalia prioritizes collaborative decision-making at the cross-team level, while the Unwinnable Game employs a more individualistic approach. So consequently, Agile Animalia fosters a sense of shared responsibility. Hey, that's great for like the release of serotonin, right? And the trust chemical, if you think about Simon Sinek and his book Leaders Eat Last. Whereas the Unwinnable Game places players in a zero-sum paradigm where collaboration doesn't guarantee a win for all. Then we're looking at more like selfish chemicals, like dopamine, and perhaps even just the avoidance of pain through, endorphins. That's just some, I guess there's a recency bias as I describe this based on what I'm listening to on Audible right now. So then there's the interplay of roles and development teams. In Agile Animalia, players are part of specialized teams with specific missions, echoing the structure of many development teams in actual companies. On the other hand, the unwinnable game puts players in generic roles with limited information, limited agency, and decision-making autonomy, which serves to simulate this struggle between personal and organizational objectives that many employees face in the world today. So there's some comparative insights then into organizational dynamics. Agile Animalia's framework is heavily influenced by Agile methodologies. It emphasizes cross-team collaboration and assigns roles like the chief product owner that can be seen in real-world hierarchies or organizational structures today. And conversely, the unwinnable game challenges the notion of winning entirely as a team when individual goals are in conflict. So it challenges the notion of winning as a team, just to clear that point up. And thus, I think it provides a critical look at organizational culture. So what does winning actually mean then in collaborative games? In Agile Animalia, interestingly enough, a win is considered to be the successful establishment of a zoo through collaborative effort. But in the unwinnable game, winning is more elusive. It serves more of a commentary on the relative nature of success within organizations perhaps with low alignment and low psychological safety. Both games offer a nuanced view of what winning might mean in the context of different work environments. Actually, going back to a Simon Sinek reference, the Infinite Game helps provide some interesting perspectives on this as well. So these games help consider learning around organizational culture and organizational decision-making. Agile Animalia underscores the value of collective decision-making and a shared mission, facilitating psychological safety or the growth of psychological safety or the establishment of psychological safety in the workplace. The unwinnable game, in contrast, reveals the complications arising from a lack of alignment among team members, emphasizing the limitations evenly in a seemingly and surface level collaborative settings. Hey, we're an agile organization, they would say. So how can we use these games then to help reveal unseen challenges? So we were looking at how these two games model distinct workplace strategies and organizational dynamics. We should also look at how they can be creatively applied to act as diagnostic tools. And these games aren't just about understanding how decisions are made or what successful behaviors mean in the workplace context. They can also serve a deeper function by revealing the hidden challenges within an organizational environment. These challenges might otherwise go unnoticed, but which have a critical impact on the long-term health of a company's ability to solve real business problems. So we can think about using games as diagnostic tools then for organizations. And I think they have to be employed thoughtfully. And if we do so, these games can become powerful mechanisms for identifying gaps in structure, in process, in flow, in identifying bottlenecks, misalignment, both in terms of the way that we're structured around work, and misalignment in values and expectations, etc., and then the tensions that exist as a result. So the diagnostic value of such games then lies in their ability to rapidly simulate workplace dynamics in a condensed format, like over 90 minutes, for example, making it easier to spot issues that might take months or even years to actually manifest in a real-world setting. And when I say manifest, they're present, but perhaps not surfaced. And if the psychological safety of that organization is such that these issues wouldn't be surfaced anyway, then they're going to be low-lying, persistent challenges that just remain unaddressed. So how does the unwinnable game then uncover such hidden challenges? Well, in my mind, what I'm designing for is to create this microcosm of workplace ambiguity and limited information flow. The intention is to place players in roles with hidden agendas and survival strategies. The game then bringing to light the difficulties of fostering a shared purpose. And it raises questions about how well can we truly understand the motivations and challenges of our peers, especially in a complex and ever-changing environment. I feel that adopting a coaching mindset with universal positive regard here offers a constructive approach to resolving some of these questions. In this approach, it's crucial to understand that each individual has unique experiences, perspectives, and challenges that contribute to the overall team dynamic. Essentially, we're saying that each person is a human being. And I feel that open dialogues here can help team members express their motivations and challenges without fear of judgment. And in doing so, the hidden agendas often become transparent and easier to align with the collective goals. This mutual understanding can create a more transparent work environment, making it easier to foster a shared purpose. In essence, promoting a culture of openness can serve as an effective antidote to the challenges exposed by the unwinnable game. And this is the other example then is Agile Animalia and the challenges of cross-team collaboration. So by contrast, this game focuses on the interactions around teamwork and a one-team mindset, especially in large and complex setups. The game can highlight how ineffective communication and misaligned objectives between teams can jeopardize an entire project. For instance, if the animal care team is not in sync with the public relations team in the game, the zoo's launch might fall flat, mirroring what often happens when departments in real organizations don't collaborate effectively. So to illustrate, consider a gameplay session of Agile Animalia then, where one team prioritized building large animal enclosures, but neglected to communicate this vision to the teams responsible for creating appropriate perimeters or habitats. The result then is this bottleneck on the day of launch, causing in-game disgruntled customers and financial loss. And this could be lost or even negative points in a game setting. This scenario serves as a powerful reminder then of what can go wrong when teams don't align their objectives and communicate openly. So they haven't communicated it openly, to be clear there. And then there's a diagnostic value then of each game. Each have their own unique focal points, such as alignment of individuals in the unwinnable game and team collaboration in Agile Animalia, yet they both serve as litmus tests then for organizational challenges. The unwinnable game teaches us about the hurdles in personal motivations and hidden agendas, while Agile Animalia illuminates the complexities of teamwork, shared responsibilities, and the importance of clear cross-team communication. As we've seen, these games can be incredible diagnostic tools when applied appropriately. However, I feel like their value extends beyond diagnosing issues even further. So lastly, let's explore the psychological dimensions that these games bring, adding an even deeper layer to our understanding of organizational behavior. So let's go and unpack the layers then. So as we delve further into the mirroring effect of games like Agile Animalia and the unwinnable game, we can't overlook the psychological dimensions that they bring to the surface. And understanding these psychological layers not only adds depth to the gameplay, but also enriches our insights into real-world dynamics at play. And this is the value of emotional intelligence, right? So in Agile Animalia, players quickly realize that collaboration is not merely about coordinating tasks. It's also about navigating the emotions and motivations of team members. Teams that excel in this game often have a high level of emotional intelligence, intuitively adapting to their colleagues' work styles and communication patterns. This is like yes and language, for example. This kind of emotional acumen is critical in today's fluid work environments, where adaptability and interpersonal skills are as valuable as technical expertise. We can talk then about establishing autonomy in a controlled environment. The unwinnable game offers a compelling study in the psychology of autonomy. While players operate within a framework of limited information and constrained choices, the game drives home the point that autonomy is not about unlimited freedom. It's about making meaningful choices within the bounds of one's role and the organization at large. So the game portrays the delicate balance between personal agency and company objectives, a current reality that so many people grapple with daily. And then there's the thoughts around like risk and reward, and perhaps like the double-edged sword between these. And both games incorporate an element of risk and reward that echoes the trade-offs we face in the workplace. In Agile Animalia, the risks might involve adopting a new strategy for the zoo's launch, while the rewards can be shared accomplishment of that successful launch itself. The unwinnable game, however, represents risk and reward on an individual level, exemplifying the complexities that come when personal goals are at odds with team objectives. So there are cognitive biases here at play, which are the invisible hand then in decision making. And we all like to think that we make rational choices. I know I do. But cognitive biases often influence us. These biases can emerge vividly during gameplay. For example, players in Agile Animalia might display groupthink, gravitating towards a popular idea, even if it's not the most effective. And the unwinnable game can elicit biases like confirmation bias, where players interpret new information in a way that confirms their existing beliefs or survival strategies that they are working towards. So in conclusion, this is clearly then more about just them playing games. We've explored game design can reveal nuanced psychological aspects of organizational behavior. These games serve as more than just analogies or simulations. They are diagnostic tools and learning platforms. And the main takeaway is that these games aren't just for fun. They challenge us to reconsider our behaviors, our decision-making processes, and the foundational dynamics of our workplaces, providing a framework for both individual and collective growth. As we continue to adapt and evolve in our professional environments, these games can provide critical frameworks for self-reflection and collective growth. The takeaway is never underestimate the power of well-designed games to illuminate the complexity of our work lives. Whether it's Agile Animalia or the unwinnable game or your favorite game or the game that you have in mind, these games are more than child's play. They are psychologically rich canvases that capture the multifaceted realities that we navigate every day. This has been the Triple Loop Agile podcast, and I have been Carl Rogers. Thank you so much for your time. If you're interested in playing the unwinnable game, then we're playing it on the 28th of November in London. And if you're interested in playing Agile Animalia, come and check out the Triple Loop Agile website, or for either game really, and it would be fantastic to talk to you about coming and playing. Thank you so much. Have a great day.